Hi, Kristen Ervin from Remax's Government Team Logue. I'm here today with Scott Kirkwood, mortgage specialist from RBC. And Scott, we just want to have a little chat about what happened with the Bank of Canada yesterday.
Yeah, some big news. They've increased the prime rate by a full percent, which was more than most of the pundits were expecting, and it's the biggest increase since 1998.
Yeah, wow.
So big change. It's going to have a ripple effect in the market, and we're starting to see that already this morning with
lots of phone calls,
lots of emails.
Yeah, it's happening.
People not panicking, but asking questions and good questions, and what are the next steps? What happens now? So starting to see some of that come through the market already. The big thing to know is that the Bank of Canada changed, the RBC changes, and I think all of the banks followed suit. That has an impact on qualifying, it has an impact on what your payments mean, it has an impact on renewals. So there's lots of trickle effect for this, and it's important to reach out to your financial institution or mortgage specialist to talk about that.
So obviously not just new buyers, but existing clients as well, people coming up for renewal, and anyone on a variable rate. Like this is impacting everybody across the board.
Yeah, and it's a big change. So people are going to have to be aware of what that means. So basically, your variable rate changes overnight. So this morning, RBC's rates are a full percent higher. And what that means for us is that your payment now is covering less principal. So your amortization is going to be extended because the payment's not covering as much principal with each time.
So a person's next mortgage withdrawal doesn't change necessarily. It's not all of a sudden $500 more next month with the RBC program. Right. It's just you're paying off less principal, like you said.
And that varies from lender to lender. So that it's important to know what that means for your mortgage if you're with another bank. But one of the things that I've suggested to a lot of clients is, sure, you could lock in. So there's always that option. We have that option to convert to a fixed rate. Mm-hmm. Or we could adjust your payment. So if you were locking in today, your 5-year fixed rate payment would be this. We could keep you on a variable rate but make extra payments. So use the double up payment option or make a lump sum payment to keep the lower interest rate but pay more principal. So you're still being aggressive and making sure that you're keeping track of it. You can't be set it and forget it with a variable rate mortgage right now. And that's going to be that's the key message that we've been delivering for months now is we know prime's going to change. If you're going variable, we need to be sure that you have a strategy in place for that.
Yeah. I think the most important thing that you mentioned there is people need to get on the phone and reach out and contact their mortgage specialist and just see where things sort of stand and the best way to move forward.
Yeah, and that advice changes from person to person. Obviously, not everyone's going to want to flip to a fixed rate. So what do we do with your variable? What does that mean? So we're certainly happy to provide that guidance.
That's great. And just want to say that that same advice flips over in the real estate market right now. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of uncertainties with pricing, with inventory. So we just really urge our clients to reach out to their realtor as well. Get an updated assessment on your home. Find out what your house is worth in today's value because it is changing.
And it's changed a lot.
It's changed a lot. Overall, we've definitely seen price increases across the market in year over year. 10%, in 2022 over 2021 was sort of an average. And some areas more like 35% increase year over year. But, it's starting to come down now. I think we're down about almost 4.5% from what we were just 60 days ago in terms of pricing. So the market's adjusting.
Yep, and that follows sort of an affordability calculation where rates go up, prices have to come down to be able to afford that same house. So I think the market's going to take some time to adjust to that. I think we've seen it already. The activity level is certainly not quite what it was 3 months ago. And as the pricing increases on the rate side, then we're going to see the pricing come down on the housing side to make exactly. But there's still demand. So I don't think the market's going to hit the bricks altogether. Like it seems that there's still activity. It's just we're not seeing things sell in 2 or 3 days. It might be more like 2 or 3 months.
Right. So definitely the time on market has extended. And actually inventory is way up as well. Mm-hmm. So, we're almost double the number of listings on the market in June of this year versus June of last year when we were just dying for supply for buyers, which creates a really fantastic opportunity for anyone looking to buy. they can take their time. They can look at houses. They can go back maybe 2 or 3 times.
Have a condition.
Finance conditions are back heavily, as are inspection conditions.
And sales.
And obviously negotiate price, which is a fantastic thing, an excellent opportunity if you are looking to buy. And maybe let's talk about those people that maybe are locked in. They've been pre-approved with a little bit better rate. Mm-hmm. Amazing opportunity right now.
Absolutely. So we've seen, the rate commitments that we did in March and April. Those have sort of cycled almost to the end of what their rate commitment was. But if you're locked in at a really great interest rate relative today and the pricing has come down, that's a great opportunity. So we've got definitely pre-approvals in the hopper that people are starting to really look actively because they know that their rate's so much better than what the market is today.
Yeah. The flip side of that is obviously the selling side, and I think some of our sellers are concerned because they see prices coming down and they're worried about what they're going to walk away with. The nice thing is, as long as you're buying and selling in the same market, you're sort of taking advantage of the price decrease on the buy side, even if you have to give up a little bit on the sale side.
Yeah, it's all relative. If if the pricing's come down 10% on what you're selling, it's also come down 10% on what you're buying. So your mortgage might still end up being pretty much the same amount. It's just it's a bit of a mental block.
Game.
I thought my house was
bit.
worth this, but now you can buy on the opportunity side. The buy side is that much better.
Absolutely. Do you think that this sort of current market? What's your thought on timeline? Are we sort of in this for 2 months, 6 months? What would you?
Yeah, the economics guys know how to do that stuff. It's not
you don't have a crystal ball?
No, it's very muddy. So obviously the inflation's been the big driver of the rate increases. If this increase helps to curb that, then maybe we don't see any more movement from the Bank of Canada in the next little while.
Because this was aggressive.
It was I think it was a sign that they want to get inflation under control and as quickly as possible. So they kind of shocked the market with, most people were saying 50 to 75. 100 points is a big move. If that has the effect that they're hoping for to curb inflation, great. Then maybe we don't see any further increases. I don't think we're done with them altogether, but maybe they'll let this one sort of percolate and let the dust settle before they make the next move. But again, if it doesn't get the problem under control, this is really one of the big tools they have to curb inflation is adjusting the overnight rate. So that it could continue. I think that means that people we mentioned renewals earlier, but as people come up for renewal, they're going to be in for potentially some pretty significant sticker shock.
Right.
Where you had a 5-year fixed rate at 2.5%, and all of a sudden it's 5.5%. That's a big change.
Which is still not a bad rate historically.
No, my first house was 5.5, and I thought that was a steal at the time. So.
Yeah. But we've been living with these exceptionally low rates for so long now that it will be a shock to the system.
It will, and there's options to maybe change amortization or look at maybe a shorter term if you're looking at where you are in the rate cycle for the economy. Maybe a 1-year term makes sense at renewal, or a 2-year term if we're starting to see rates slip down again. So we'll have to gauge those questions as we get to those terms where people are looking at what do we do. Maybe the 1 year is an option. Maybe the 2 years option. Maybe a variable is an option. If it's a falling rate environment, variable sometimes is a really great option. Mm-hmm. Right now, it doesn't look quite so rosy, but if you have a strategy in place, there's still ways to make gains with the variable too.
Yeah, and one of the things I would really encourage on the sales end, if you're thinking of selling your house, is to really sort of get your ducks in a row, because we don't know where the market is going. There may be opportunity where things all of a sudden look a little bit rosier, let's say in the fall or late fall. So if people can have their house ready, staged, sort of those projects have been undertaken to make sure it's sale ready. Even some of our people with maybe great backyards or pool backyards, we're out there taking photos now to make sure that we have that sort of in the queue. Mm-hmm. Because if there's a great market opportunity, where we're seeing sale prices come back up, we can jump on that.
Yeah, it's hard to show a pool in the winter, but if you've got good photos done.
People don't have to use their imagination. Right.
So I think the big message now is don't panic. It's sort of normal economic cycle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a bit of a shock yesterday when the Bank of Canada went up by a full percent, but it's not an abnormal interest rate from a historical standpoint. Right. It's pretty close to average, I think. So there's going to be some conversations around renewals for sure. There's going to be conversations around affordability. The rate change will impact the stress test. So we talked about that off camera, where you're qualifying at your contract rate plus 2% or the stress test rate. So the variable rate now, if you're taking a variable, that rate will change. So if you've got a pre-approval started, make sure you're speaking to your mortgage specialist or your bank to figure out, what is this doing to me?
It may have decreased your buying power, your purchase power. Yeah,
definitely. So it's important to make sure that you're keeping in touch with your finance person and get your ducks in a row, as you said, because we don't want to have you not get approved.
Absolutely. So that's the message of the day. Don't panic. Reach out to your professionals, to your mortgage specialist, to your realtor. Make sure you understand what's going on in the market and how to, best prepare yourself for what's coming down the pipe. Thank you so much, Scott, for joining us today. This was very informative, and hopefully it's some good advice for our clients out there.